Right, so we've got a 2012 Suzuki Swift front brake pad replacement. A nice easy one. Let's start with the basics. Make sure your car's on the floor before you undo the wheel. Obviously, otherwise you're just going to end up with a bloody whole heap of shit if it's in the air and your wheel's turning, but you want it on the floor so you can undo it. Wheel nuts should hopefully be tight. That's the way. Alright, so wheel nuts off, undone. Lift her up. Obviously put your axle stand under. It's going to be out of view. Okay. So on the axle stand, spin your nuts off. Pause this to speed up. Okay, so wheel nuts, wheel off, out the way. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to turn the wheel just to make it a bit more easier. Not that these are difficult. There you go. So you're probably going to get, as you can see it on the camera, a bit more of visual of the caliper. Now, open the reservoir, always take the cap off to allow the pressure to release, because you don't want to push the fluid back into the reservoir without removing the cap, because when you push the brake pedal it can cause a vacuum and then you can lose the pedal completely. Now a lot of people just flip the caliper, push the piston back with a pair of big grips or a wind back tool. Now I just use a lever, each to their own obviously. Careful not to damage the rotor. Slip it in gently. As you can see the lever move, just really gently let the piston slide back. Push away. If you can move the pad, you can actually use the pad on the opposite side to push the piston back also. There we go, so we went all the way back. Check your fluid level. Alright, so we're halfway between min and max, so by the time I've done both calipers, the chances are the fluid level's going to be at the max. Alright, let me just adjust this. This is good. Fading in and out, so you can see the caliper there quite well. Alright, so it's just I think there are 14, pretty sure, in Japanese. 14mm, you won't need to hold the actual slide at this point, because it doesn't have a spanner on it, it's actually a fixed angled shaft. So, smash him off. Spin your knot out, flip your caliper. But these go up and stay up, usually. There you go, out the way, pads out, not much left. Good call on the inside one. Normally the pad closest to the piston wears the fastest, which is definitely the case here. We've probably got maybe 1.5mm, maybe 2 to 3mm on the opposite side. Clean the slides. Oh, yep. I should just say the shins look clean. Always check the slides. This one's got a bit of grease and still actually fairly free. Top one's free. If you really want to do it, you can just slide the caliper out that way. Real easy. Nice easy car to work on. Alright, new pads. Now in the pack it did not come with grease. This is customer supplied. So I'll use my own grease on them. So I'm going to pause this while I get my grease and everything set up. Alright, so I'm using the RDA grease, which come with a set of RDA pads, obviously not today. Customer supplied their own Bendix brake pads, no grease supplied. So what I do, I only put it where the pad's going to sit on the slide on the caliper. Okay. Now the reason for this, a lot of people put it all over here, all over there. It's just going to make a huge mess as it sprays out everywhere. So first pad in. Now what I've done here, the side with the wear indicator, this is going to squeal indicator for the Japanese. I've put this on the outside as it looks like the caliper is going to miss quite well. However, the ones that I took off did not actually. Alright, so on further inspection, looking at the old pads, the one on the outside doesn't have the wear indicator, or should I go with the studs? That's what I'm going to say. So one pad, no studs, one pad has studs. Now I'm going to follow, because obviously the brakes were working okay before, I'm going to follow the studs being on the side of the piston. Nice tight fit with the original shims. So like I say, the non-studded we're going to put on the outside, and again just grease this part here. Each to their own where they put the grease, but like I say, it makes a mess if you put too much on. And 20 years in experience with this, I've never had an issue just putting it where I do. The inside pad is really stiff. I might put a bit more grease on there just because it's such a tight fit to this shim. I feel as though I've lost some actually fitting the pad. There you go. And then straight back down. Alright, general rule of thumb, Loctite. So whenever you separate a bolt on brakes, always put just a dot of Loctite on. You just need a dot, like literally not even this. This is, you can see, it's not zooming in. Anyway, not much, because you want to be able to get it off in the future, but enough so it cannot back off through vibration. General rule of thumb, always put Loctite on the bolt you remove. Obviously if you don't remove the other bolt you don't need to, but what I always do is tighten it up, tight, and then I'll just double check the other one is tight. I didn't remove it, so I'm not too worried. There you go, that's one set of pads, one side set of pads fitted. So I'll do the other side and then I'll continue the video. Something I just wanted to quickly point out as well, I'm quite anal with wheels, so make sure you always have your torque wrench after you've done your wheel. Don't even bother doing the other side until you've torqued this, because you're only going to forget at some point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I always go over again, do the opposites. 1, 2. So we know it's definitely tight. Done them all twice. Also, I was going to point out, so brake fluid level, if you can see it, it's halfway between the min and the max, like I said before. So before I do the other side, I'm actually going to pump the pedal. Reason being, I don't know if the other side's going to make it overflow. So if I pump the pedal now and get the piston all the way out, it should drop a little bit. Have a look. Yeah, so if you can see now, it was halfway up the neck, now it's, you'd say, the bottom of the neck. So let's do the other side. Alright, just for a bit of clarity, I'm going to push this piston back, and if you remember where the level was, I'll show you where the level then sits after 2 pistons push back. So there we go, so it was the bottom of the filler neck, if you remember rightly, so I'll go all the way, pretty much back, push the pad, and then, so now that piston's all the way back, and brake fluid level now, As you can see, if you can see, they're not doing a very good job of this, the level is actually over the max, way over the max. So hopefully once I've got the new pads in and pump the pedal and the pistons return to its proper position, you'll probably find it's not going to be far off the max, so there's going to be no topping up of fluids. It's going to be nice and straightforward stuff. I'll pause it there. Just thought I'd show you this anyway. This one actually has the wear indicator, as you can see. It's actually broken. Luckily she didn't go past 1 mil, but what I've found is what people have been doing is they hear the squeak, not get the car in time, and then the squeak stops and they go, oh, carry on, down to metal and metal, and obviously they need a set of rotors, but that's literally the case here. Has snapped, so the noise went, and she got lucky because she knew what she was doing, but the pads changed anyway. Okay, so as we said, levels just over the max and brakes are back together. I'm going to pump the pedal, just get a piston to sit where it's going to want to sit. There we go, it's solid as. And then when we check our level, oh we are, perfect. So it's actually perfectly on the max. As you can see, can you see that? Perfectly on the max. So there'll be no topping up, no messing around. Now I'm pretty much done here, but I'm not going to have my camera running when I go for the road test, so I'll talk you through it rather than walk you through it. Now when I initially pull away, I'll just slowly drive out of the drive, and then I'll drive up to like 30k an hour, slow down slowly to 0, up to 40k an hour, slowly back to 0, 60k an hour, and again, really tell the customer they need to be watching how they drive, give maybe a bit more distance than they normally would for at least 200 kilometers. But other than that, yeah, there you go. 1 set of brake pads, Suzuki Swift, job done. Scouse mechanic out.